South Africa went to polls on the 29th of May in what is seen as the most pivotal general election since the end of apartheid. The ruling party, African National Congress, led by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, has won every election since the end of apartheid in 1994, when Nelson Mandela became the country's first black president. But this time around, things look a little different. ANC remains a top party in the counting, but it might lose some seats. The official opposition has come second in the past 5 elections and is on the second spot even this time. South Africa's Electoral Commission has 7 days to declare the final results by law. However, they are usually announced sooner than that. This year, the Commission has set Sunday, the 2nd of June, as the final results day. Joining us now to take this forward is Rajiv Bhatia, former Indian ambassador to South Africa and distinguished fellow at the Gateway House. Ambassador Bhatia, thank you very much for joining us. This is indeed a watershed moment in South Africa's history, isn't it? The African National Congress not being able to win a majority on its own.
Yes, indeed, Parikshit, this is correct. It's a democracy that is 30 years old and this is the first time African National Congress seems to be heading and stopping below the 50% mark, which is supposed to be the mark of clear majority. So the importance is there, and it also very much indicates the political and economic journey that South Africa has covered in the past 3 decades.
Right. What do you think has changed, sir? Do you get a sense that the African National Congress, Cyril Ramaphosa, are losing popularity among younger voters, the new generation of South Africans, or is there a change in sentiment across the board?
Well, I think, the process of growing up for 3 decades, this was the party which remained unbeaten. Even now, it will still stay the party with the single largest number of votes and seats in the National Assembly. But 2 main things have happened. Number one, there has been a process of fragmentation or defection from the ANC. So 2 important parties which have come up, the party which is led directly by Jacob Zuma, the previous president, is a factor to reckon with. And then there is the party of economic freedom fighters. Both these parties are going to take something like 10% plus, each of them, from the original vote bank of ANC. And therefore, one party that used to be in the 50s or 60s is now going to be reduced to the mid-40s or lower 50s. Therefore, there is that process of fragmentation. And the second important point is that the performance by ANC government has been very much questioned and has been opposed. There's been a series of very important problems, mainly the economic woes of the people, the staggering unemployment, the question of corruption and crime. And essentially, it's a issue where ANC party has, as a party, it has frayed, and so the country is slowly getting ready for a change. I think this is the process of democracy growing up.
All right, process of democracy growing up. Now, in case there is a coalition in South Africa, will Cyril Ramaphosa continue to be the president, or do you see some other leader emerging in South African politics?
So that's a very thoughtful question. I think everything depends on the total number of votes that ANC secures. This is a country where proportional representation system applies. So as of now, when more than 50% votes have been counted, ANC is still running close to 42-43%. If they stay there at the end, it is possible that a leadership change may be pushed by some people and may have to be considered. But if they inch closer towards 48, 49%, then the presidency may not change. So at this stage, it's a bit of an uncertain situation. But we already are hearing from South Africa that there will be people, perhaps even within the ANC and certainly outside the ANC, who would push for a leadership change.
Right. Ambassador Bhatia, when it comes to Africa, several Indian companies have high stakes there, be it automobiles, you can talk about the Mahindra Group, Maruti Suzuki. Then when you speak about telecom, you've got Bharti Airtel. Where does the geopolitical loyalties lie as far as different candidates in the fray are concerned? What is it that Indian businesses will have to look forward to in South Africa in terms of this election? What are some of the cues that you're picking up?
India Inc. is very interested in what is going on in the major African economies. South Africa is, as of now, the largest African economy, and in fact, it has been the gateway for the injection and spread of Indian capital and enterprise in Africa. So what is happening in South Africa is very important. Of course, corporate leaders have been preparing that someday some change, significant change will come in South Africa. So at this stage, I suppose, like us, they must be watching very closely as to what the final outcome is. ANC has been quite friendly to the foreign companies, particularly those coming in from India. And in the last 30 years, India's economic profile has grown quite significantly. At this stage, they would be watching clearly whether South Africa, in the kind of coalition that develops, will still remain rightist in orientation, or whether it will shift its tendencies towards the leftist instincts of the polity. And therefore, I think if not by Sunday, by probably even tomorrow, the whole situation would become clearer. And as you rightly pointed out from your previous question, everything will depend on whether President Cyril Ramaphosa would continue to be at the helm. If not, then obviously everybody will have to go back to the design board.
Right. Ambassador, we do see South Africa facing a lot of corruption issues, electricity issues, power cuts that the common man there is facing. At the same time, Chinese investments in South Africa are very, very visible. There are a large number of Chinese banks operating there, and many of the projects have clear signboards saying that this is being done by a Chinese entity or a particular Chinese infrastructure bank for that matter. When it compares to Indian interests and economic interests in South Africa, how big is the Chinese investment in South Africa? And going forward, how will India have to grapple with that?
That is a question that both Indian policymakers and capitals of Indian industry have to tackle on a daily basis. There is absolutely no doubt that the Chinese economic presence across Africa has been strong, and it has actually been expanding. And it seems that despite very many negative tendencies in parts of the continent, China's economic push remains quite formidable. I think the challenge for the government and for business in India and in other competitive countries such as the US, EU, and Japan, it is the same. It is that you have to locate where your opportunities are, neutralize the negative trends and overcome them, and continue pressing your advantages. By this, essentially what I mean is that, overnight the African situation will not become 100% positive for you. You have to factor in the challenges and yet succeed. And obviously, you have to choose your domains carefully. In India's case, as you very rightly pointed out, Parikshit, in terms of the automobile sector, in pharmaceutical sector, in a number of electronic, small industry, medium industry enterprises,
Okay.
and above all these days, in terms of anywhere where digital technology is concerned, India still continues to have major opportunities in Africa, and therefore it is our duty, it's our endeavor, it has to be our endeavor to continue increasing and expanding the economic heft in our relationship. It is already happening, and I'm very optimistic that with the new government taking over in Delhi, our Africa policy will receive a strong fillip, and our experts have been giving a lot of advice on that to the government.
All right. Thank you very much,